So, hello everybody. Can you hear me well? Okay, great to hear. So it's a pleasure to be here with you. How do you like the conference? Okay, shy Latvians, okay. So you're all locals. Yes, I will have the opportunity to share my own experience. It will be, I will try to wrap it up quickly. Personal story about challenging myself, multitasking, trying to multitasking and then multitasking, then trying not to screw up, then screwing up and then trying to fix it. So yeah, long story short, developers, actually technical people, are the ones who like challenges, right? Because there's no other reason why we would do this. So how many of you actually, besides of your regular 9-to-5 work, actually have some small side projects you do, or any other projects or startups you work on? No one? Okay, quite a few. Great. I hope you can learn from my mistakes. But yes, so long story short, I made like 6 levels of multitasking, first of all. It's just an example, doesn't mean there are necessary 6, but it's just how I sorted it out. So the level 1, you're not a multitasker. You have this 9-to-5 work, and it's not a bad thing. It's actually perfect. I wish I was the person who was okay with that. For me, at that point, and actually those descriptions, read yourselves because I'm not reading them, if you're interested. But my story was I had university in the mornings. I had lectures that I attended, and after going home, I had some freelance stuff. Apparently, that wasn't enough, so I decided I will level up. I signed up for full-time work, and I think at level 2, all of you are at least level 2, I guess, because instead of staying in your comfort zone at office or home, because you can work from home as well, you're here sitting in a cinema and listening to other people teaching how to do stuff all the day. So yes, level 2. For me, this experience was during the day I was at work, and then I went to university, and in the evenings I still had my freelance stuff. And it's the point where you have these perks when you're doing something in work and you haven't done something in time, and others are like, no, that's okay, she does already so many things, so thumbs ups for us. But then you realize it's not enough for you, because besides of work and some other activities, you decide you want to challenge yourself more. You become a proud multitasker. You start working for a startup on your own project. Maybe you have open source some project you're working on, or you take up some courses and learn some another programming language. So you come to work more earlier, and that's just an example. Leave earlier, then go to the other activity you have. In the evenings, you don't spend time with your family anymore because you have other things to do. You have no weekends anymore at this point. Leveling up, pushing your limits, this is where you start doing weird things. You are at work at 4 a.m., take a nap for 1 hour. Have anybody done that, taking naps at work? Okay, a few confessed. Yeah, you take a nap at work, a few hours you work, then you go to the storage room to take another nap. Then you go and, for example, read a lecture at a local school. Perhaps then you take another nap there, go home, have some freelance stuff, take a quick nap, take a shower, and go back to work. And then, and if you do it so way, this is where you forget that things like date and time exist, because none of that applies to you. Yes, this is the point where you have another freelancer to help you with your projects, because you apparently have too many, but you cannot stop because, well, you like challenges, and when another project comes up, you just have another one, because you have a freelancer to help with the existing ones. And yeah, and this is where it gets tough. At some point you realize there's no time to sleep, and the other freelancer thinks you're crazy. Maybe you have even 2 of those because you have this big project that you also want to do. And sometimes you simply think, why should I sleep? Why should I, for example, go to work? For example, Going to work takes 20 minutes, coming back another 20 minutes. In order to go there, you have to brush your hair, brush your teeth. You have to get out of bed and get dressed. No, it's not for me. Sorry, boss, I will be working from home today, just to save up that hour. It happens. Have anybody done that? Yeah, again, few confessed. I like you are like somehow true to yourselves, because I guess everybody have done that. Yes, sofa's body, because you don't use your bed anymore. You're just on your sofa, work until you get sleepy, put away your computer and just lay down and take a nap there. And actually, if you think this is it, you can go farther. And this is where you don't even lay down on the sofa. You just at one point wake up that you have slept for half an hour with your computer in your lap. And you wake up and you're like, "Ooh, it didn't fall down." So you're happy. You are a happy camper. So that's one thing. Another thing is, yes, you lost track of time already a long time ago, but right now you start losing memories. People say something happened, you're like, "Oh yes, that's it. Okay, I guess it wasn't a dream." And this is actually where I stopped. Perhaps there are more levels. For me, this moment was, I already mentioned the description of the talk, when I hadn't slept for 50 hours and I woke up from a call. I woke up, I was sitting on a bench in a park. There was a graduation party for my students at Recoding School, and they were calling me, "Il, where are you at?" And I was like, "I guess I'm in a park nearby." Don't remember how I got there. I just, by my own calendar, realized it's been 15 hours, and I'm sleeping on a bench nearby the school. So I totally do not suggest that. How you get out of it? The quick fix is take a few days off. It makes sound really like weird, because you have to take take some days off of your main work. Yes, it's probably for many the main way of gaining income, but on the other hand, you have to choose which is more expensive, gaining income or not losing sanity. And another thing, if you think you're okay with 2 or 3 days off, take 5. Just, with project planning, have anybody done that? At least your own time, you plan your own time, right? No, awesome, you should do that. I strongly suggest doing that. Yes, use those few days to get rid of your side projects. And what I strongly suggest, the 20/80 rule, maybe someone? No, 20/80 rule is, for those who doesn't know, it actually comes from, I think, accounting in some of Europe countries, but long story short, you can, generalizing, achieve 80% of things, for example, with 20% of resources and vice versa. In this case, it would be running doing 80% of project in 20% of time. Use those few days just to get most of the projects running, send them to clients, say, "Leave me alone for a month," take a rest, return to your work, and you won't fix your problem with staying, for example, at level 6, but at least you will be able to level down a bit. And it may sound insane at this point, but yes, take up a small hobby. And by that I mean start going on walks. For example, you have to get your mind off computer, because for developers, being a multitasker means most likely being on computer all day long. And that's not okay for you, because you don't let yourself rest. At least if you don't sleep, at least let your brain have some air. And that was a quick fix. Another thing after that, how to keep yourself going. And this also applies not only to that crushing moment, it applies to every day at all. Overall, know your whys, why you're doing something. If you take up a project because it's simply money, be true to yourself that you won't like it. If it's an interesting project, then decide, do you really need 2 interesting projects at the same time, because you can't focus completely on both of them. You have to decide why you're taking one or another, and that should be your reason why turning one or another project down. Again, have a hobby, or at least take a rest. That would be better. And yes, if you actually are struggling with keeping yourself motivated, perhaps is that exact time to say goodbye to something. Unfortunately for me, that was the time when I decided to stop giving lectures at Recoding School. I really loved that. That was amazing. But it took like 2-3 hours every day, and that's only the lecture itself. And then you want to take responsibility for your students. And yeah, I decided it's not only best for me, but for them. If I cannot completely be ready to give the lecture to answer their questions, it's not only thinking about myself, but it's thinking about others as well. And what works great with keeping yourself motivated, write down your to-dos. It's like a rewarding system. And another thing, don't write only, for example, development tasks. Do some things like, oh, fix bug on this, fix bug on that. Go to the shop and buy yourself milk for your coffee, because at one point, I think in level 5, you stop going to shop because even though it's 2 minutes away, it's just to save time, and you don't want to do that. And when you have this list of those random things, it's easier to like check something, and you feel like you have accomplished something, so it's easier to move on. And another thing, like 3, I think in my case, biggest mistakes. I will somehow cite Brandon and then one of my managers. The smart people learn from their mistakes. The real sharp ones learn from mistakes of others. You all know that. But my manager added that idiots don't learn from mistakes at all. Don't be those people. So mistakes are, first of all, as I already said, know your reason why. For me, it was, it's just a project, as I mentioned. I didn't think about why I'm taking it, what I will gain from it. So, yeah, it's an opportunity, I will take it. You have to think why I'm taking it, what can I gain from that. Same applies to your work. If you work for a company you don't like, you have a job you hate, why you are doing that? Is your colleagues that together with the pay that great? Maybe, perhaps, but you have to know your reason. And if you cannot see any whys you're working there, perhaps it's time to change. Or if you love your job, then why you're taking any additional tasks? Because the more divided your tasks are, the more it's a challenge to focus on each of them. Perhaps if you love your job, you should ask for more challenge inside the company. And if you cannot talk about that with your management, or you talk and they don't understand, then once again question why you're working with them if you cannot have such a discussion with them. Another mistake, don't work in bed or on sofa, because it's not helping separating your personal life from your work. Yeah, and it's a mistake, to be honest, I still do it. Don't tell my boss. He won't like it, yes, but the idea is you wake up, oh, it's so comfy, just take laptop in your lap and work all day long. And at one point I feel like I have slept all day long. Yes, I have accomplished so much, but I have slept so much, why I feel so tired. So, and at one point you're going to sleep, for you physically will be like feeling like it's just a start of another work session. And last but not least, you have to learn about yourself, your red flags. As I mentioned, if you realize that you won't go to the shop for your coffee's milk only because it's 3 minutes away and it's too much time for you, perhaps it's time to say goodbye some of your things you're doing. Or another thing, when your mom's been calling for a couple months and you haven't still visited her, even though she lives an hour away, another red flag. Or when other people think you are insane and you're like, ha ha ha, no, I'm okay, ha ha ha, and start that weird laughter, that's another red flag of yours that it's not okay. And yes, I'm happy that I managed in 15 minutes because originally I had like 50 minutes to talk, stuff to talk about. Yes, but I tried to pull in a bit of everything. And yes, my main idea about multitasking, yes, I wrote that myself. The more you are doing, the more it can be achieved, unless you are doing too much, because then you're simply screwing yourself up. And also I can add that you are only not screwing yourself up, but everybody else as well, who is related to you. So thank you, it's been a pleasure. And about that 20/80 rule before I finish, because I have time. Those who know it, I can also add that it's not actually 20/80 rule. As I learned in Riga Business School, we saw some data there, and there's actually research on that. And the rule is more like 20, 30, and 50. So 20% of resources, with those resources you can accomplish 50% of things, with 30% of resources another 30% of things, and with 50% of resources those hardest 20% of things, and vice versa as well. So, fun fact. So, yes, thank you. We have time, maybe questions, maybe your own personal experience about what something I said that helped me, for you didn't. No. Okay, thank you for honesty. That means it works.